All right. Good morning. This is Accountability Day. So I'm going to be working on the other half of, or other quarter of the system. Um, I did do some coding after the fact. It was mainly, I'll just show it. So we had to make this class, the quest log class. It's really just to pack the entity with some targets. Because we have a need for these two targets for right now. There's really nothing in them. I mean, inventory is just an old class I just grabbed, but like questlog has nothing in it. It's basically just an empty shell. We just needed this method from it um, because we are working on skill tree or data. Um, hmm, going to actually make a string. All right. Um, in the end, this is going to have, I think, two lists on it. One is going to be the list for active quests. The other one is going to be the list of quest quests and their completion state. So, well, actually, we're just going to have one dictionary. It's going to have the quest's name, basically, or the quest address, and it's going to have on the value a number. And that number, if it's 0, means that we are in 0 position in that quest. If it's 1, it means we've completed that quest. If it's higher than that, that means we've completed it that many times. Uh, but we'll have a separate way using the keys of tracking the quests themselves. So if we ever need to pull up more information about the quest, we can just do that by tracking the quest's ID in our quest system. Um, Now, of course, you have different types of quests, right? Not all quests will be pre-generated, so there might be some novel quests that'll come up as part of a condition for things like you meet X NPC, so X NPC's name has to be stored in that. So we'll be worrying about that when we get there. For right now, this is just an empty shell made to be a target for these, so we can stop getting squiggly lines. We do have a small issue here, something that I'm working on right now. So that inventory system, it works. It's just I was hoping to make it modular, and then I made it a little bit too modular, right? So we need to go in and adjust some stuff with it. Well, just one thing right now. I'm going to be making a extended get item class. And what this is going to do is it's going to remove from the inventory item that we get. Right? So we actually need to rework this. So instead, we're going to do collection first, vault. Oh, there we go. Okay, so effectively, we're just going to search through the collection to make sure that we have something that will match. So now when we do get item, it's going to basically just be right? So this is just going to get the first item that has this total amount. So I think that should be it. And so here we want to do get item, put in the item address and the required quantity. So this will get first item that matches the required quantity, and then it'll remove it, effectively consuming the item for the purposes of being burned towards this quest. Okay. The important part of this is how does this look in Unity? And so there is a Git that I was able to re-find. This time I definitely stored it on my bookmarks. That it's called Serialized Reference Extension, or Extended. Go right ahead and Google it. It is fantastic, and I'll show you one of the benefits of it. My Unity is not throwing errors. Crying about it. Oh, we're in the middle of doing this. I don't want to do this anymore. Do that. With this, we're not ready for. We're not ready for this. When we come back, we'll do it. Right now, no. Okay, good. So I just want to show this part. Get right back to it. Alright, here we go. So this is what serialized extension does. So now I can go like this. And we can see that we have the three types of nodes. We have ability, core node, and you see how it will automatically shift this to the top, and that node. Right? So core nodes will always be 0. So no matter what I shift this to, it will always just be 0. This can be whatever. But it will try to sort based on the tiers. So tier 4 will always be at the bottom. Okay. So if I bring this up to tier 5, all the way to tier 9. And it'll handle sorting itself out that way. So now, each one of these gets an ID. We have to put these in manually. And I was thinking of making this an automatic. But let's do that. Where do we look? There we go. Do we want to do it this way? No, we can't do it that way. That would have been nice, though. So what we want, or the natural thing that we want, is the ability to do this. But we don't want to do that. We don't want to accidentally set the ID for something else. We don't want to change the IDs. I would love to just do it on validate. Let's read this and see what we're doing. Oh, I see what I'm doing. Freaking voodoo. Like, brother. Alright, it makes sense now. So, this is just here to make sure that we don't have two core nodes there at once. That's it. Make that.
Track of time, buying things online, and it's not like we need them. We don't need them. So can we just slow down? The only thing I'll do is lay here next to you. We need to slow can we just slow down? The only thing I'll do is lay here next to you. We need to slow down. Embrace the love we found. For you and I are safe and sound.
Okay, there we go. Okay, to do the trick, now we can go and out. Something is still missing from that. What is missing? Figure that out. Maybe I just didn't type it in. Okay, so we should have this. That worked out. Completely. Oh, cool. So we do the inverse here, and printable is going to be equal to false, and we just break out. Good. Do a turn. Sure. Oh, I see. Oh, we don't need to do all of that. Sure. Let's do a return false here. Oh, that's why I did it that way. Oops. So what we do here is hey, what's going on, Nick? I'm running into a design problem for the card game I came up with because I want money, preferably they should be singular with $1 bills, but the in-game economy requires me to get like 3 times money compared to the total amount of cards at once. Don't hit me with economy stuff for a video game now, brother. It's too early in the morning. And the costs and that cost money and time. What? You're making a video game that has an in-game economy, but it's what I'm reading is somehow that's costing you real money and time. So I can either rework the entire economy, I'm inclined to do. Add Oh, okay. I see. Um, because I want money preferably, they should be singular. So you want it to work in increments of $1 bill, but somehow you feel like you're getting pigeonholed into a into needing $3 bills. Is what I'm reading that you're saying? I mean, I don't see requires me to get 3x total amount of cards. You could just make the 3 cards a unit, and then the 3 of them are $1 at the end. Like, I don't see I don't see the hoo ha or pub there, right? Hub. It's it's not really a design issue. I'd have to see it, I guess. Maybe I'm not grasping the depths of the confusion that you are in right now or dealing with. Um, okay. So then we can choose to learn entity ID. So this was basically going to let's fill this out for now. Let's turn this into a bool. Oops. All right. So now each one of these should have its own learn conditions. Oh, okay. I see. There we go. So we also need to do that. Alright, there we go. So we need to make a new class for the skill tree. That should be it. Yeah, the economy requires $1 bills to be simple and work, but the scaling there, the more you play, the more money you'd be generally earning and trading. Adding $3 bills will add complexity or require Monopoly banker guy. Not ideal. Do better. No one likes Monopoly. But still, there is about triple the money required to be in the economy compared to the cards you actually play with. Or I can rework. So give me I think what I need is broader context of what this card game is, because this is doesn't sound like you're trying to make solitaire or something like that. This sounds kind of like you're doing something else because you're talking about an economy. Um, so is this something like a tycoon game but with cards or something? Is that what you're doing? Like I think I'm missing the broader context of what you're doing. Okay. Okay, but still, there are triple the money required to be in the economy compared to the cards you actually play with. Or I can rework it slightly to punish hoarding money. That's a good idea. Thanks, Art. What would I do without you? You do a lot. You do a lot of stuff. Um, in simpleton language, you have 4 players with 3 shareholders. Okay, so you have 4 players with like 3 shareholders, investors that dictate how much you earn. You have to protect or gain them to win. Okay. There are actions you can take that, but they require currency. One is limited and rare, the other one is dollars. Understood. So it's kind of like um, political currency versus financial currency, right? So you have a lot of weight that you can spend in both sides, and one is harder to get than the other. And the goal is to effectively monopolize the shareholders slash investors money towards your company. So you have to give me a bit to digest that if I was to like think about how to balance things out in that direction. but it's been done before. I just need to. I would just need to think on it a little bit, but it's not. It's not completely alien. Um, what I think you would probably do well with is you understand your game's mechanic, your core mechanic. What you probably want to figure out is the genre, and that should probably give you some insight on uh, how to balance out what you're trying to do. Because then you'll have a less foggy picture, or at least I would have a less foggy picture of what exactly the player limitations are, right? Like just intrinsically to the genre, what exactly um, will the player be with? What frame is the player within? Hey, messed with the refactoring. What's wrong? Crying about. Learn. So learn wants to pass through entity ID. We did. Oh, bool. Okay, gotcha. Okay, we've made the Fox system. But it wasn't displaying. Let's find out why. So we do serialized. Maybe this needs to be serialized reference. There you go. Okay. So from here now, let's take a look and see what that looks like in the editor, because it's very important that we get this right in editor. Okay. So here we have the different skill nodes. This one would probably have like a quest requirement. Right, so we can probably make a quest requirement here for this. Quest that would be required. We can pass through the quest ID as actually it would be the Journey West. Right, so that could be like the name of the very first quest that we introduce. That will unlock this requirement. And once this requirement is done, then you can utilize this. You have to get rid of stuff. So I put a whole bunch of random things in each one of these because I was just testing things out. Let's get rid of that. Okay. So now what we would have to put here is once this is unlocked, so like let's say it's an ability node, we could have Where is it? Right there. So, like an ability node, we would have to have yes, ritual. I don't think we need to worry about can learn, but learn we definitely need to make a ritual of. So let's do here, do public override. Okay, so now we can do but we shouldn't have to worry about this because if we got here, then we're good. Same thing with this. You don't need that check again here because this will handle that check for us. It's already here. So what we're going to do here is we can do something like entity ability This is an interesting concept, right? I was thinking about it. But I want to make it so you can learn as many abilities as you pretty much want, like you have an inventory of abilities. So whatever that inventory's max is, that's the max. And then you can equip the ability to different slots. So, and go down to even to the effect of like just your regular attacks, right? So let's say you've seen me use the scythe before with that character. Each one of those attacks would be effectively an ability that you can equip. And it would change the animation sequence for your combos and things like that. What your character will do in certain contexts. Right? That's what I'm thinking of doing. Regardless, these abilities Right. Then we do return true. Otherwise, return false. Do it like that. This way, we can have this return a bool. And if we can't learn this ability, it'll just return false. Which now also means that we should do this. I'm glad to hear that you're actually in the groove of doing some development work. So that's good. Let me see what you're up to now. So you have like 3 categories. Okay, wait. Yeah. Okay. So that's a good description. Every time I try to write it down, it gets very messy. I might draw out the gameplay loop. Yeah. If you can't find a genre that it fits within right off the bat, then yeah, just trying to nail down exactly what you can expect from the player. For me, so it's like when I work with UI, I like to. You saw me just goofing around with the UI early on. I like to do the UI part first because that kind of paints the four sides, my walls basically. As long as I stay inside of this wall, we're going to get something done, and it's going to be the least painful implementation of what else I could have. Because I could easily sidetrack. Even when I do set a rail for myself to stay on, I get sidetracked super fast. Like suddenly I'm in other classes that I have nothing to deal with right now. Oh, so yeah. You should definitely do whatever you can to try to strengthen the rails. And I think from there it'll become easier and you'll realize that you might not have to make like a $3 bill. So it's a strategy game, is what you're saying? Um, what do you mean by strategy game exactly? Do you mean like Crusader Kings style strategy game? Do you mean like it, what's his name? Ages, what was it, Mystic Ages or something? Mythic Age, I think it was called. That's actually, let me check that out. That would be pretty cool. Mythic Age. Nope, there's no. What am I? Oh, there's Age of Mythology. I think that's what it was called. Well, there's subgenres within it. So you could have, for example, an RPG, and then inside of that RPG, you could have a TCG, right? Um, I mean, there's subgenres for sure, but now you're getting into semantics, and that's not really going to help you. I think with nailing down what your player is going to be doing. So you probably want to refocus and get back from where you were just heading with that. but it looks like a resource manager. Okay, so it's kind of like one of those, maybe the way that you could look at it is kind of like one of those infinite money games. The infinite money idle games with like a TCG slapped onto it, right? Depending on how complicated you want to get, you could have a restraining force or a balancing force being some type of number that's just constantly going up as you're playing over time, or maybe round by round. And that's just the difficulty cap. Meanwhile, the player just has to keep playing well enough to beat that difficulty cap to be able to gain their investor interests and stuff like that. I am just like spitballing, so do not take what I'm saying right now as what you should do. Just saying that's an approach. Entity. Oh, cool. I didn't know it had something like that. I guess we can do some coding right now. Yet.
Oh yeah. Are we talking about losing control? I'm gonna show you how we lose control, baby. Watch this. Look, Marty Mark. Watch the way I start up. I've been going
Um,
hard, but I can go way harder. Every beat I'm on, yeah, you know that I slaughter, and I'm always looking gorgeous, chilling with
it was inspired by a game I played with my sister a lot, Virus. I'm not sure if there's an equivalent to the English version. There, you had a body, and you could attack enemy bodies with viruses. Okay, or give antibiotics to protect it. It was kind of boring, so I basically redid the whole pace of the game. And a lot of my friends adopted the playstyle, that playstyle. And we would like make short alliances to attack the most defended person at the time. Good time. Your cards that represented your body internals, and you needed to build it up first. The game was a slow played game where you had 3 cards, but could only play one and discard one at a time. I remade the rules to allow for people to play 3 cards at once. I see. Let's look it up. Let's virus. There was a movie named Virus. Sounds like Plague Incorporated, because that's what it led me to. Wait, you can play Plague Incorporated on... Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you could do that. What is this site? Never been here before. Just general games. Plague Incorporated play. Oh, it's a flat. It's not the actual Plague Incorporated that's on Steam. It's like a different game. UI setup is pretty sick, though. So basically, it is Plague Incorporated. It's weird. I'm not. It's a little bit too much for me. No, I was talking about the game that I just bumped into on Steam, on that Flash site. It's just super complicated for me right now. My brain is in game dev, not gaming. Um, okay, can learn. Sorry. Can learn. Um, how did we store it? Okay, got it. Oh, oh, that's so nice. Ask me. Thank you so much. That was awesome. So I can just do. Oh wait, no, that's not a good thing. My head. I don't want to use that. I need to make my own. Do I use this for anything? Let's brush this out. Comment it out. Where are we using it? Only one place. Awesome. All right, so it doesn't cost us anything to just replace it. Because we want to use the string to do the comparison. So it's actually just better for us to private. Mary. Really just better for us. Ash. Learned ability. think we can get rid of... Because we already did that there.
I'm just calling to say I
If it does, then...
I'm just calling to say I
Okay. We have one error somewhere. Ah, okay. Ability data can learn. Actually, we could just do this. I've wanted to do it this way for a very long time, but I recall that it doesn't work. But we're gonna find out eventually. We got a ping back saying. No, we can't do it that way. Okay, there. That should... All of these freaking functionalities I have to just build in all of these different areas. Holy cow. It feels like I'm being sidetracked, but all of this is coming right back down to this. Wow, okay. That's just the ability node, folks. That's it. Wow. Alright, and then for the stat one, we could actually test out now. We're going to be able to test this out the first one. So with stats, what we want is the ability to change a target stat. Is that what it is? What do we want? So let's do it like this. Okay, gotcha. So what we want to do here is not this. We're gonna make a private. Okay, and we then want a
You don't know what I'm gonna do. You don't know what is next. And I'm loving the fact, truly it's making me blessed. Cause I work on my team, no snakes in the grass. And we have been trusting the wind because of the work that we did in the past. Because of the work that we did in the past. When we went to hours, we barely got rest. So I get the realm and we didn't finesse. So I got the feelings that we might be next. Cause when we go in, we win in the match. When we go in, we win in the match. So that's how we do, cause we be the best. We be the best, best. Yeah, we be the best. Whoa. Yeah, we be the best, best. We be the best. Hey. Yeah, we be the best, best. Hey, we be the best. Yo, you wanna come on a test? Whoa, you want to see we the best. Hey, you don't see that we're the best yet, so I suggest you never really come and test it. But otherwise, I will smack your face like Michael Jordan does with a ball in the basket. Oh damn kid, but you didn't expect it. You never really thought that this could just happen. But now already come on and we pull out with the action. Cause people defeat those they don't get it like.
okay there. Right. Oops. I don't think we even need this. I think we just need the oh, first we have to do this. Or and let's turn this from that into a. Okay, so if the visitor is null, then we just continue. Otherwise... Oh, man. Okay. Oh, what did I name it again? Um... Where the heck did I put it? Oh, there it is. Skill node. No, we're not going to do that. How did we do it inside of the... way to find out? Interesting. I don't know why I thought you could set the the increment. Weird. For some reason, I remember being able to do that. Whatever.
Tonight, emotional suicide. You know it's an eye for eye. I didn't wanna walk the plank. No, but the Mariona, it came like the thunder. I was on my way to going under. Swimming in the banyan, I was covered in a tidal wave, But I'm a fighter, trying to take me down, I'm going higher. Baby, you've been playing with some fire. You've been playing with fire. One day you will see what you made of me. Found my inner peace. You watch it release in the dead of night. In the dead of night. Baby, when it's till I die, you know it's an eye for eye. Feel the energy align in the dead of night. 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 You can save your alibi. I already know you lied. Oh no, no, don't even try. Watch the flame in me ignite. You didn't wanna walk the plank. But the Mariona, it came. Baby, it was dark, it was hard to see. And that's when the spark lit inside of me. Oh, I was lost from reverie. Oh. One day you will see what you made of me, what's inside of me. Oh, one day you will see I found my inner peace. You watch it release in the dead of night. In the dead of night. Baby, when it's till I die, you know it's an eye for eye. Feel the energy align in the dead of night. 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 And one day you will
Interesting.
see
That means that we're using
what's inside of me.
lane system. What's using?
And one day you
Oh,
will
right.
see I found my inner beast, and you watch it release.
Ugh, that's annoying. Good times. So your cards represent your. Yep. Oh, wow. Sorry, I missed the chat. My scroll bar was up and I didn't realize there was more chat. Much better. I can. It was much better. Not Plague Inc. I could have just most cards have. I could have just most cards have a value in the corner. So instead of actual dollars, you have like a card that's just like company asset you can use as a substitute. Yeah, remember that a big part of it is prototyping. So you don't need to go full in on like what the game is going to look like at the end. If you can get away with a shape, use it. Later on, you can just, I mean, you already know, you could just swap visuals at any time. As long as your visuals are not directly connected to your code, you're good. And it forces me to rework the entire idea of invent. Gotta brainstorm that. Hello, Stolen Jesus. How you doing, man? It's going okay. Nick is eloquating his game dev struggles. Have you found any more 1 hour game jams, man? I mean, it's still crazy to me, but I've done a little bit more research on it, and it turns out it's actually a pretty big thing in a certain crowd. How's that coming up? The next biggest card game, yeah. I have a solid core idea, at least me and my family will enjoy, based on another card game. I basically redid all of the rules. It's called Virus, and I'm more sure, and I'm I guess not sure if it even exists outside of Poland. I don't think it does. I just did the search for it, and it doesn't. Yeah, like you said, it doesn't even have a Wikipedia or a fandom page. So it might be like a local thing. There's a lot of stuff that's from like Poland that I've encountered that have been like huge hits once they left the borders of Poland. So it's kind of an untapped market, if you will. They have another one. This guy made the game. I think he's Polish or German. I'm not sure, but it's called. I have the game too. Give me a second. It's like a kart racing game, but it's not kart racing. It's like with a kind of box, and it was like a specific kind of thing that they play there. So he made it that way, and it was pretty cool. It I don't know if he made a ton of cash from it, but I do know that it got moderate success. Let's put it that way. He was able to move from his basement, his parents' basement, to his own place. So that's a moderate success. Um, that's weird. Glad you came up with something. If if it if I didn't come up with the design document for each week of the month, that would be very odd. I'm doing good, man. No, I haven't. I haven't really looked though, but if you found something, I'd totally be interested. So I just the research that I did on it was tangential. Like I was looking for something else, and then I started seeing stuff about people doing 1 hour game jams in a forum. So I was like, what the heck is all of this? But it's like it's been going on for years. It looks like because it was a very uh, let's call it an ancient forum post about it. So I was just like going through it. That was basically it, and it has. I don't know if it still has, but it had definitely a vibrant community. A lot of people were responding. So as far as being able to find like one, well, I could look around, but my usual places to look for stuff like that would be like Itch or something. And I don't think Itch does that. I think maybe. Let me not knock Itch. Entirely possible that they do it.
When you feel it's hopeless, when you think that you lost, oh, I will take your hand and we'll rise up from the dust. Oh, here we go, let us heal and grow. You won't be alone, we're unstoppable. Don't be afraid to show what we're going for. This is what we know. Here we come back to life, we're still breathing. Standing up, everybody's gonna see it. Oh,
I hate how Unity handles that. I think you have to do it like this. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I have no idea what the game you described there is. Um, we were talking about a game jam. So there's a type of game jam where you do the jam in. So game jams tend to have like time limits. And there's a specific breed of game jam that they do the jam in like 1 hour. That's interesting. I know that my last message did not go through. What, did I miss something? Hold on. I'm doing good, man. Okay. Maybe I missed something. I'll check the YouTube chat. Maybe I something didn't come through. No, it seems like I got everything. Darn it. Gotta go back. Okay. What are you complaining about? Why are you complaining? I haven't even touched anything dealing with you guys. Alright, let's just destroy this. Well, not... Let's just comment this one out for now. Because we're not ready to deal with this stuff yet. And... Why is this thing not auto-completing anymore? It's crazy. There we go. Like... I want to know if this works. It would be super sweet if this works. Or if it's just going to throw an exception. That would suck. That would be cool. Let's move this up here. So I don't know if you know you could do this, Stoner Jesus, but right now I'm doing basically data side, build side stuff, but it should make everything else easier on the runtime. to develop out. Let me just fix this last one. I don't know why it's complaining. Maybe you shouldn't be complaining about. Clear? Okay. So this is what it looks like over here. That stuff that so let me get rid of all of these. Ooh. What's it complaining about? Okay, so I think we can't do this. It is complaining about it. That would have been cool if we could. Okay, here we go. So basically, this is going to be how I'm going to build out the skill tree. So Unity, I think in 2019, they added in serialized reference, which allows you to serialize out the classes on the inspector. So when I click like plus over here, this is going to open. So this is an array. When we click plus here, and we're going to add like the core node. So the core node in like the skill tree is like the node that, you know, is at the center. This is where everything starts. So you'll notice it comes with an ID. The ID for this is going to be 0. And anything that it might require. So this is going to be 0 also. And it sets its tier to 0 because it's at the center. We can add in through a similar process requirements. So let's say that we have a quest requirement. So we can add in that you have to do a quest before you can actually unlock this node. And we can say that quest is journey quest. Right? So now you have to do this quest before this node will be learnable. And we can... So we implemented a broker visitor system. So let's do, like, for example, a stat node. Oh, this is giving me errors. What's it giving me errors for? Back. Null reference exception, object reference to instant. Right. Okay, so it's just complaining because this is actually nothing. There we go. Okay. I forgot, when you do for eaches, you won't get that, but when you do a for loop, you'll get it. Okay, there. So now we have the ability to do stat changes on this, and we have the ability to do the requirements on this. So you saw the requirements already, like with this example, right? So we can say, well, once you finish this quest, then you can learn this. You could do the same thing here. Like we can add in that you need an item, and we can say that you need what's his name? Staff. Oops. So over here we can actually just get the addresses. So it'd probably be like weapon. Right, so that's the address of that item. And the required quantity can be, I don't know, 1. Right, so you need this. And then the stat changes. So this automatically comes with its own unique ID. And when you learn this stat, you can increase the stat address. You can increase, let's say, base stat power. And we can increase this by some amount, 4.2%, is pretty cool when you learn this. It still needs a little bit of work, but that's the premise of how to approach this. I'm not sure if it's a good one, but this is what I just thought of last night. Well, sorry, the night before last. I'm not sure if this is a good way to go about it, though, but I feel better about it than the alternative that I was thinking. I was making a ton of scriptable objects, so like this would have been a scriptable object, this would have been one, and then filling out information that way. Versus like this, I think this is a lot neater. Right, and we can set that its required node is 0, which is this guy over here. Right, and we can just keep adding more. So we can say that this guy's required node is 1. So when we generate this inside of the tree over here, we should see 0 start right here. And then I don't know the angle that this is going to be at. It's going to figure itself out. But once it's determinative, so once it figures itself out, it should just do its thing. All the time it's going to be the same pattern every time that you load into the skill tree. It won't change. But it's going to basically chain. This one depends on this one, so there's going to be a line from this one to this one to this. Right? I think that's the idea. The only thing I think that's missing is we need to set the node size. That's, I think, it. So let's do that. There's 2 things missing, really. Let's do the node size one. That's easy. I feel good about it. I feel good about the approach. Oh, so yeah, the serialized reference GitHub, it's called Serialized Reference Extended. So I installed that. So what that allows me to do is, I don't use it here, but it also allows me to serialize reference for interfaces, which you can do from 0.9, but it just displays weird. So this is really cool. So we can just set up an interface here, and on the inspector, this is what is being told serialize, and we can see it like this over here. This is super cool. And remember, these are all different classes. They're all working off of the same array. Right. Oh, and it auto-organizes itself too. So like if I bring this up to like 4, right? It's going to want to go down. So you'll notice like this was the one that was up here. If I bring this down to like 1, it'll go back up here. Right? Because it wants to try to keep this organized based on the tier. So all tier 0s are going to be in their own section. Tier 1 is next, tier 2, and so on. Which hopefully will help with organization later. We need to fix this though. There we go. That's the last thing. Okay, so now if we now if we do this, nothing should change. Oh, we can't change that anyway. That one is, since it's a core node, it's just stuck at tier 0. And this can't reach tier 0. Only core nodes can reach tier 0. It's so freaky. It's coming together fairly well. The only part that I'm really sus about is this. I don't like the idea of passing through this right here. So I think what I'm going to do, because you know what it is? I'm thinking in terms of Godot when I do this. So let's make it in Unity term. Because Unity can easily handle this. Godot will snap in two and do all kinds of wonky stuff. Where is it? There we go. You gotta remember to learn or exercise the engine strengths. This one is a Unity strength for sure. So we can just do stat data there. And then we can just do there we go. Okay, so now when we go back, Unity allows us to quickly look through our project to get a specific item of the scriptable objects that we... In this case, we're looking for power. There we go. So now we could get we could just click this and it'll lead us right to the stat that we're talking about. Cool. And we could probably do the same thing here. Item address. Okay, I think we're good now. Ooh. Um, we started early today. I think we started at 9:30. Um, and I'm feeling accomplished. Granted, this is a very small thing, but building out data is crazy, and you have to take your time with it. I would love to go a little bit further today, but I think this is where I want to call it. We have effectively a working data structure as far as the nodes go. This is the very beginning. Effectively, we've just walked through the doorway of creating the tree now, right? Because that whole process of interconnecting the different nodes is basically what the tree is going to be reading, on how it's going to generate the visual and handle logic in between. So it's good to give my brain time, I think. I could try to force it, but I think I'm feeling like this is where I should call it. The alternative is I could open up my Godot files and take a look at how I did it in Godot, because it's going to be kind of the same process. But I don't feel like doing that. I don't want to open up Godot. Not right now. It's not painful. Unity is painful to open up because it just takes forever sometimes, but Godot opens up fairly quickly. But I just don't want, but even though it opens up fairly quickly, the search through for script is kind of rough. Seeing a commie block in between two historical buildings? What do you mean? A commie block? You mean like communist? Wait, a communist is running a block in between two historical buildings? Or is the block that it is how is the block communist? Like, you'd have to... I mean, even Russia says they're not communist anymore, right? So you got to take them at their word at least. I think the last communists are probably the Chinese, right? They're still saying they're communists. I mean, just obviously none of these guys are telling the truth, but if you just take them at what they're saying, then you gotta, you know, it's a commie block. Oh, built during communist times. So it becomes a communist block because it was... In college, I remember my earth science professor. So he's from Eastern Europe. And he was telling us about a massive earthquake that happened way back when. And how when the Russians had built even though this area is well known, I think it was in Crimea. So even though the area was known for having earthquakes, it's not a new thing. They get earthquakes. They didn't build the buildings with any care in the world for handling those earthquakes. Every single building was built basically the exact same way because they were government buildings. And a lot of people, when the earthquake hit, a lot of people were, you know, they were deleted or hurt big time through that, because the building basically just pancaked layer by layer until it just came completely flat. And that to me was always just crazy. There's so much when it comes to civil engineering. There is so much involved in it. Like, depending on how tall your building is, you have to take into account for like things like wind. putting stresses on different angles of the buildings. You have to find out like which direction do the strongest winds come from, and you have to go back, and so much research involved in that. It's really an engaging profession, and very dangerous too. Like if you get something wrong, that's hundreds of thousands of lives. But it's still beyond the pale that you would get a developer who doesn't even consider that this earthquake-prone area needs to have buildings that are safe for earthquakes. Fair. They want to just clean up some stuff here. I think for today I'm done. I'm just cleaning up some code a little bit. Let's take a look at what this does. Make sure nothing is still broken. This should just be fog going left and right. When I apply a shader to this, it's going to look so much better. Because I'm going to apply a shader to the far background, which is going to make the clouds look like they're bending and twisting. Then for over here, it's going to have like a vertical wiggling effect, is what I'm thinking. And then over here, it's going to be a diagonal distortion, like sound waves coming through. Those are the three effects I'm going to work on. Get that wiggling look going like that. Yep, I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. Money is money. Yeah. I really liked the study for Earth Science, though. It was really interesting. I was more interested, I think, in two things. One was volcanology, and the other one was the waterways, underground waterways, or groundwater. That, to me, those two things were pretty awesome. I always thought they were just super cool. Because they're tied together, right? Like, you're going to get, one is going to lead into, well, they all lead into each other, but they're just like so cool. I remember I was debating with this person years ago about Africa, because I was 100% certain this is. I still pat myself on the back for this one. So I was 100% certain that Africa, parts of Africa that are supposed to be considered deserts, had a very, very substantial amount of deep water reservoirs. And people were just like, they were just laughing at me about it. They're like, that's impossible. Like, what makes you think? And I said, well, part of it, for me anyway, was the behavior of the Cape of Africa, Cape of Africa's waterways. It just didn't make sense why you get, yes, you get thermal reactions, but there were just certain behaviors of the water, like how choppy it was in that area, that just didn't, it wouldn't make sense with just thermal reactions, right? Yep, so it just was weird. And then how it reacts with the Indian Ocean. On the it was super calm on the Indian side. But there should be more thermal reactions. And there are a lot of thermal reactions on the Indian side. It's notorious, especially in between yeah, it's in one second. It's notorious between Madagascar and the continent. I think we're good here, man. Yeah, I think we're good. We're done. So it's notorious between there. So for its own weather conditions, the I think it's called the Mozambique Channel, if I remember correctly. It's been years. So it would only make sense if there was some type of desalination happening or just a lot of fresh water being introduced at some level. It just wouldn't make sense otherwise, right? Like, you have desalination on one side and salination on the other side. That was all it would take. You couldn't just explain it alone on well, you could if like it was if you had like an especially hot sun for a few years. Or just an especially hot sun. But if you had a sun that was that hot, the planet would probably be you'd see the same results all over the planet, basically. Okay. Let's take a look at the quest log. We can probably build it out a little bit. So we want to take a look at I guess we're going to use a hash set for this. So it turns out, in fact, there is a massive body of water underneath Africa. Huge, huge body of water. It's just very deep. And so it even goes further. I think it was like 5 years ago or 6 years ago. It came back that actually, not only is there a deep body of water underneath Africa, that it's literally almost the size of, you could say, like, of Europe, right? It's just a ton of fresh water. I don't know. I haven't done the research on it, so I don't know if there is, because my thought was that the desalination was coming in from the Atlantic. And I thought that the water was coming in from the Atlantic side and just staying there. And maybe over 100 years, whatever. But that water was making its way over towards that reservoir. It just didn't make sense otherwise. But it's so freaking cool. Oh, not at all. You'd need to have, I think, in order to actually end up in a situation. So it's not so much that there's a freshwater issue; it's a delivery issue for freshwater, right? And you would need to. So if you go if you go back to like 2019, we're infrastructure-wise, a lot of Europe, I think I could say for Europe, but definitely for America, the infrastructure would be able to support maybe double the population without much. After 2019, the infrastructure is pretty much in tatters. Oh, we're not going to use hashtag, we're going to use dictionary. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I was saying before 2019, the U.S. would probably be able to handle double its population, infrastructure-wise. As far as fresh water, like actual fresh water, you could handle 8-10 times as much people in just the U.S. alone. In Europe, probably the same thing. It's roughly, I would assume, close to that. There isn't really a resource issue with that. It's more of the ability to acquire it and distribute it. There are certain areas that it is a problem though, but like if you go to Antarctica, you're pretty much you're up that creek without a paddle. But we're more inclined. Sorry, we're more inclined to go through a massive volcanic event before running out of water at the current rate of population growth. Keep in mind also that a lot of countries are lying about their population. I think the most populous country in the world right now is India, but and if you've ever been to India, you can see it. Like, there's a lot of people in India, per square inch. But in China, there's definitely not that many people. I think they probably just made up the whole number thing to try to compete with India, I guess. I don't know. But India is, I call it the free love country because they have a lot of freaking people. There's two types of quests. There's quests that we want to have run multiple times, and then there's quests that we don't. Do we have this? I guess not. I'm really split on how much money in the game. China, yeah, no, they had a one-child policy and still grew. Like, if I believe, I guess. I mean, yeah, their numbers don't make sense. Unless, right? Unless they their one-child policy was an abject failure. But regardless, if you go there, um, and it's weird to say this, but even in New York, you go down to Manhattan, it feels like it's way more populated. Like, not even just New York, pretty much. There is by Manhattan, not just Manhattan, but like in areas of New York, it just feels like it's way more populated per square inch again. Like it's hard not to bump into somebody. Right? Like, roads are always packed. And this is the thing. You could say that this is because maybe China just has a better urban design. It's possible. Maybe that's what it was. Because New York, like it or not, or Manhattan, like it or not, is a very old, by comparison, development-wise, area. Granted, they do make changes, but the overall thing, it's not going to really change. It's a couple $1 trillion to change it. Okay. So if the quest ID contains the story ID and the log, blah blah blah, and it's greater than true. That otherwise, oh, what am I doing? This is the wrong area for this. What are we doing here? We have two different types of quests. I think the approach is just wrong. I think the approach is wrong here. This is what I mean. Like, I knew I should have stopped because now I'm getting into this area where I'm getting stuck. Because we have two different types of quests. We have story quests and mission quests. But we want to try to minimize the size of these things by just storing this. We could do something to get quests. Right? Because story quests are going to have story data. So we could get the story data. Yeah, let's stop. My head is not in the right place. So let's just do this. Return false. We can come back and deal with this later. We want to deal with skill trees, not with quests. Like, I'm just in different areas for no reason. Actually, let's do that. Okay. And, like, we don't really need this, because if we're going to be using the addressable system, we don't need this constant string. What we're going to do is, I'm going to make the story system, or the quest system, using quest data. We're going to use the addressable system. See, like, I already knew that that's what I was going to do. That's why I had this here. Crazy. Like, that's what happens when you go past what you should be doing. And this quest, we're just going to pull the addressable here, and then have the addressable handle whether or not the quest log has learned of that quest, because the rules for that quest are going to. So if it's like a mission and that mission can be completed multiple times, we can do like a check state on the previous mission, see what its state is, and then handle it from there, because these are going to need to have states and things like that, right? All right, let's call it here. What did he say? I'm really split. I mean, America does have a problem with cars, and you cannot deny that, but China isn't real. If we follow the UN rules, all countries need to accept it. But some countries accept Taiwan as the real China. Well, some say China is China. But there is one country that doesn't believe in any, and just rejects both Taiwan and China as being real. China ain't real. That's funny. I don't know. I really don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'll be honest. I mean, for folks that live in that area, I get it. You know, being under the constant threat of that being a possibility, it's kind of crazy, but it's like the only thing that can really be done with this situation is they need to legit. There's a saying, right? The strongest defense is an even stronger offense. Right? The fact that they focused on economic might is great. It's very, you know, you got to respect peace. There's actually a comic, a manhwa, I read on it. Not on this subject, just in general. It was a cultivation manhwa. And there was a guy in the manhwa that he was a Buddhist, and he wanted to convince everyone that they needed to stop cultivating, because if we stopped cultivating, there would be peace in the world, because no one would be powerful enough to dictate who should live and who should die by their actions or inactions, right? And then the main character turns around and says, you know, what type of nonsense is that? If you think about it, all you're really saying is that everyone should listen to you and not to anyone else. What qualifies you? And so that's really what it comes down to with this, right? Like, what qualifies me or you or anyone really to say, well, this is a country, this is not a country. All we really want is for everyone to listen to one side or the other. And so that's going to beg the question, why should we listen? And the answer typically is because you have the biggest weapon. Like, that's what it comes down to, right? So in the Mahua, he goes, anyone in the world can tell people not to cultivate except you. And he's like, why not? And he goes, because you haven't reached the peak of cultivation. So how can you tell someone not to do it if you haven't done it? Same way, you can't tell someone not to be evil unless you've experienced evil. You can't tell someone to be good unless you've experienced good, or not to be good unless you've experienced good. Once you've reached the end of the path on that, then you can turn around and you could say, okay, you know, you shouldn't do this. But if you do, that's your business. I've already walked that road and I know exactly where it leads. Then you can get away with telling people stuff. But before that, you'll have realized that it's pointless to tell anyone anything, because some people legitimately find joy in doing evil or doing good. And so to tell somebody, even if you've walked the path already, that they shouldn't do it, you'll realize the futility in the effort. They're going to do it anyway. It's just what they are. It's their nature or nurture. So it's best to just... You can have your opinion, but let people do their thing. It was a pretty cool story. The definition of a country is if you cross that border or that line, whatever that line is, if you cross that line and you can do it with impunity, in other words, there's just no recourse for doing that, then there is no country. It doesn't exist. It's not real. But the moment that you cross a border and there is absolute consequences attached to that, maybe it's deletion, maybe it's arrest, whatever, that's a country. Because, I mean, you can bet your life on it. Literally. Oh, man. Okay. I think we're good. I keep saying we're going to end it, but this is basically it. I'm going to end it here. Because I know I can't. If I go any further, I'm going to create mistakes and we'll be creating problems. I just need to give myself time to digest what I've done today. And maybe later today I'll work on it a little bit. But right now I need to back off. Thanks, Stoner. Like, yeah. I don't know what the EU is. When I traveled to Europe, I enjoyed having my Europass. It was super convenient versus having a whole bunch of different passports. So that's a thing. But not passports, having to go through a whole bunch of different, but I still needed to, like, when I entered each country, like when I went from France and Italy and so on, like I still had to do like immigrations and customs stuff. It was just not as hardcore, I think. Like the hardest it was when I was leaving Europe, and it wasn't really difficult. All right, Nick. Stoner, thank you for joining. Nick, thank you for joining. I'm gonna call it here. Have a wonderful day, guys.